This is the MXtoday Podcast here on MotoOnline.com.au. Thank you. My name, of course, is Nick Still. Joining me tonight, like usual, it's Alex Gobert. Alex, it's race week. How are you?
Nick, doing well. Yeah, that's right. The AUSX Open, the big one in this Boost Mobile AUSX Supercross Championship. And we're getting into the later rounds of the season, Nick. This is all going to be done here over the course of the next couple of weeks. But yeah, this weekend in Melbourne should be really, really exciting.
Absolutely. AUSX Open in line there with the AUSX Supercross Championship, round number 4 of that as well, Alex. And the home of Supercross. The home of Supercross Marvel Stadium. Yeah, I'm going to start. I'm going to see if I can spread it throughout the pits on the weekend. See if we can get like a chant going. This is the home. But like you sort of said, it's the big one. This is the one we look towards. This is the biggest it gets here. And there's a few things I want to talk about tonight with that. But hey, it's back.
Yeah, it is. Obviously the big one is the Lawrence brothers. They're back for the second year in a row. First time back in Australia, once again as Motocross of Nations champions there alongside Kyle Webster. So there's that, Nick. But yeah, a whole heap of has happened since the brothers were back here 12 months ago. I think everybody, while last year was kind of labeled the homecoming, this year it's a little bit different. It's the probably a little bit more familiar to most. But I think it's important that we as an industry, as a sport, as fans, that we really embrace the fact that two of the very best in terms of Super Motocross World Championship, two of the very best riders in the sport, homegrown Aussies, they're back. And yeah, I think it means a lot for AUSX in general.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And it means so much to the industry. And there's a few different things I'll talk about that. But I think, like you said, last year was the homecoming, Alex. That's what it was. That's what we branded it as. This year, it's not as that. But there is an importance about this because we've heard it for, several months now. How many more times will they spend their off-season racing in Australia, racing at the MX of Nations, or doing this? Will we see the Lawrences back here next year? But, the year after as well? We don't know. So in the moment of having two of the greatest, our own, and the greatest in the sport racing here in our country, as an industry, Alex, we need to really rally behind that. And, we say it all the time, sit back and just soak it up. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I think the AUSX Open in general, I think we did that feature this week. So it is basically a decade of AUSX Open in terms of 2015 was the inaugural event there in Sydney, All Phones Arena at the time, I believe. And beyond that, I guess we had 15, 16, 17, 18, and then 19, it moved to Melbourne to Marvel, and that was obviously a big one. And then it went on pause for a couple of years. And then the World Supercross Championship kind of took over within Marvel there for a couple of years, Nick. So, yeah, for AUSX Open, I think as well, just the significance, although it's not the 10th AUSX Open, it still is a pretty hefty milestone that they're celebrating as well. So, yeah, what's interesting to me, Nick, when I think of AUSX Open in 2025, over the years, the championship itself, since AME Group has kind of gotten more and more involved naturally over the years, as that rebranded into the AUSX Supercross Championship, it's almost important to really differentiate, okay, this isn't just round 4 of the championship. This is the Open. This is the International. This is the big one. And, kind of underline that marquee event type atmosphere everything to do with what this weekend is.
I think you really sum that up perfectly when you speak about marquee event, and that is the way of the area that we're at, the stadium we're in, the nature of how this event comes together, and not just that, the eyes it kind of has on it throughout the world, whether that's media, journalists, so many YouTubers, and just general fans of the sport wanting to watch what this race is. We're at we're in a real, I want to call it a real, a lucky part of the quote unquote off season. We have Paris last weekend. People from around the world get to see that. Now it's our weekend here in Australia, and then you mix in World Supercross with it as well. So the importance of it, like you said, is yes, we are not at Redcliffe or we're not at Cronulla. We are in Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, and 30,000 people are going to pack that place this weekend and rally around that. Having that a part of our championship as well, I think, is a really good thing. But what worries me is having that depth in the class, Alex. That's the thing.
I think in terms of the championship itself, this year I feel like it's almost been possibly a little bit underrated, the caliber of riders that we have. Whether it is, and we'll obviously get into it more, but whether you're talking Dean Wilson, when you do those flashbacks over the years, there were times in Sydney where Dean Wilson literally was one of those big name riders who have come and lined up and contested this particular event, during his Rockstar Energy Husqvarna days. So to see somebody like him full time, again, you can't take that for granted. When you consider the other kind of newcomers, the nationalities within the field, within both SX1, SX2, and even SX3, I feel like the depth this year is almost understated, probably because of the kind of split between AUSX and World Supercross, who races where and when. But that's kind of interesting. Putting the Lawrence brothers among that pack, and we'll speak about them a little bit more shortly specifically, but I don't think on this particular, from what we've seen in years past, I don't think they just run away.
Yep, I can agree with that. But is that fabricated, Alex?
No, I think it's, well...
And I say that, I'll explain that for people that don't know what I'm talking about, is obviously you have the field of what we have here, and there is some great depth in it. You throw in Jet and Hunter, and that depth, is quite considerably different between the two. They don't want to go out there and lap riders and make it look like something where maybe they can potentially play it down a little bit, throw it into the battle, and at that point, Alex, it just becomes an exhibition. And that's not what this is.
Not fabricated. That, to me, that's not the right word. So there's a couple of things in this, and what I think when I think of the Lawrence brothers coming to Australia, Melbourne, and you're more of a track guy than me, but for whatever reason within that stadium, there always seems to be a certain speed that you almost have to race to or can race to. It's either, whether it's slick in that environment, whether it's the dirt, I'm not really sure. But that's for one. You saw last weekend in Paris with Malcolm Stewart doing what he did, and obviously the Lawrence brothers and even Cooper Webb. They're not the same riders that show up at Anaheim 1. They're definitely not the same riders that show up by the time we get to round 5 of Monster Energy Supercross. They're early in their preseason or late in their off-season, whatever one. For a Dean Wilson of the world, Australia, and this championship, even a Luke Clout, it means a lot to them on their schedule. So this is game time for them. I think that tightens up things that little bit more. Machinery, the Lawrences were on stock engines in Paris. Not sure what they'll be on this weekend. Last year, very much production-based bikes. We'll see. But yeah, beyond that, I think it's going to be tighter than usual. But at the same time, if we rewind back to Salt Lake City, Denver, Pittsburgh, that late portion of Supercross this year, in 450SX, Dean Wilson was consistently 7th, 10th, 9th, a top 10 guy in the US in a fill-in role. So fabricated, not necessarily. Tighter than it would be in America, definitely.
I find as well, we look at this in years past with Marvel Stadium, where the track, there's someone that always rises to the occasion. You know, the year of Aaron Tanti, that'll be something I remember forever. Aaron Tanti, I believe, was World Supercross, but basically got cheered the whole way around the stadium as he was going. So there's always been those rides as well, and that's what I look forward to with this weekend. Looking back at the Lawrences with Paris, a lot of people would say Friday night was off for them. Didn't look like themselves. So throw that variable in there as well. Anything could happen. But it leads me to the question.
And I think they're here to enjoy it.
Well, that's right. And that's what I'm saying. But it really leads me to the question, Alex, of does the event need more international flavor? Do we need more? We've seen it in the past. We had Cooper Webb. Do we need more?
For one, I think I kind of want to go back to you're going very fast, sir. Let's put it in reverse. Get in reverse. Let's get back to the Lawrences. We're 11 minutes in, Nicholas.
Okay.
Yep. Shifted back to reverse. The Lawrence brothers, when you think of them, if you had to put a percentage on their preparation for 2026, out of 100, where do you think they are as we speak?
75.
I was going to say, I still think 60, 70, even through maintaining what they'd already just come off of. I think at the moment in SMX, it's very tricky if you last the distance, if you go the distance, and we saw the Lawrences, we saw the Lawrences miss that, pretty large portion of Supercross this year. So that maybe changes things a little bit for them too. But when you consider the 31 race schedule coming up, you consider Las Vegas and the SMX final, that time from September through to now, Nick, where late November, Anaheim's right around the corner. I think, if anything, the actual preseason is probably starting later than ever. I don't even really think a lot of these guys are genuinely into boot camp as such.
December 1st is usually usually when this thing kicks off, right? So for the Lawrences, I feel like
I think back previously, though, it was almost November. It's like it shifted back a month.
Hey, that extra week into Anaheim is helping a lot of riders this year.
And you spoke about that. Is this potentially the last time that they do off-season races, at least for now? From what we know, the Lawrences made a 3-year commitment to come and race in Australia, come and be part of the event in Melbourne. From memory, that was either announced or it was at least the word. Some people are kind of saying, it was 5, but I think it was 3.
I think early was 5, yeah.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Darren Lawrence has gone on the record and effectively said next year they want to back it down. We've spoken about it before. Does that mean they do race MXON again? Does it mean they don't race Paris? Do they come back to Melbourne? Time will tell. It's definitely not the last time we'll ever see them, but with probably a new CRF platform coming for 2027, that's also something to take into account. So
And that was the struggle leading into 25, right? We got to Anaheim and they were off with the bikes. We knew that with both the brothers. So I don't think you see that thing again. And that's what I mean. We need to rally around having that. And, having Jet, Hunter, Kyle Webster, and be able to celebrate that as a an industry here for what they achieved. There's so many different little things that I think we overthink.
how is Kyle Webster, by the way? Do you think
probably doing really well?
Is he motocross only now for good? Or I know he had that wrist drama. I don't know if he got surgery after the Nations or because I felt like when he came and did some Supercross late last year, even Perth, World Supercross, very good.
Kyle Webb's a good motorcycle rider. Who'd have known?
Yeah,
who'd have known?
Imagine that. That's something we need to find out. Is Kyle Webster officially a motocross only guy, or is he recovering from that wrist?
I hope that we get that fairy tale of having the three guys out there on the track, waving to fans and celebrating the achievement. I hope we get that.
Like a
lap of
probably.
honor. Put the number plates on the bike. Send them out there.
Didn't you call for that last year?
Yeah, it didn't happen. But the ramp was gone. So for everyone playing at home, we're getting wins where we want.
Yeah. All access.
Maybe. Do you want me to get a little ranty?
Yeah.
Do you want to rant?
You can rant. Yeah, go.
From where I was going, does the event need more of an international flavor?
Okay. We're there. We're there. All right.
Where I was going with this was the question has to be asked by the fans of why we have nearly that many pro riders entering this country this week, to the likes of Christian Craig, Joey Savacci, World Supercross is very Eli Tomac, Hayden Deegan, whatever you want it is. The fact these riders are entering the country and we do not have more lining up at AUSX Open this weekend. That question needs to be asked. We know what it is. We know what the problem is. Yes, AME, World Supercross, it is not good. But it's not good enough. That's the problem. That's the problem for the sport. It's not good enough. And that question needs to be asked.
Yeah, I think to address the first part, last year we obviously had the Lawrence brothers, and then Cooper Webb was in town. Long had a connection.
He was racing. Him and Mossy had a laydown in the rhythm section.
Yeah, of course. Cooper Webb was there. The Lawrences were there. Cooper Webb obviously went on to win a third career 450 SX championship. Not back in 2025. I think some people, there was almost an expectation just that he would. And remember, if you go back all those years, back when Coop was still a 250 guy, he was coming over and getting that mileage on the 450 way back. What was that, the first year?
Him and Chad, Him and Chad.
Yeah, so he goes a long way back with this event. Is there enough of an international flavor? We've spoken about this off the record. Sorry, the Lawrence brothers are the main headline attraction. Hayden Deegan didn't work out for one reason or another.
But
Cooper Webb.
We can openly say, Alex, it was happening. We've seen it. I've seen it. There's a video done with Hayden Deegan saying he is coming to race Melbourne Supercross. That was there. That was done. And I hope someone...
And that was the big one that I believe they were counting on. The one that AME was going to leverage. I don't know if the content was done before the contract was signed. I don't know, Nick. If we've seen it with James Stewart before. If these guys don't want to come, it's very difficult to get them here. And then obviously the element that we'll get into next is, first, I think it would be nice to have an additional either one headline rider alongside the Lawrences, be it a Deegan or a Cooper Webb or a Tomac, that level of rider.
Yep.
Or I think maybe the Lawrences and then a mix of three guys, maybe give it more of that Paris feel. So a Malcolm Stewart, Aaron Plessinger, Garrett Marchbanks, whoever it is, if you know what I mean, like those not second tier guys, but not your absolute A-listers, that a Hayden Deegan or a Cooper Webb is. And that's no disrespect.
You're Julian Boumairs of the world.
Yeah, that didn't really do it for me either, though. Because obviously Juju was announced. He's going to miss all of Supercross next year from his injuries from Charlotte. Cole Davies, that one made real sense coming, being from New Zealand. So a little bit of a homecoming for himself. He's also not fit to race. So there was the intent to bring guys out for the 250 class. That didn't work out. Shane McElrath, he will be back this weekend. With Honda, the defending champion. He wasn't in Cronulla. He was at Redcliffe. Not been going well in general, but he will be here. Anyway, on to the why aren't we seeing more? I understand, to me, it's not just a given. If the likes of Tomac, Roxon, Webb, even Deegan are here for the Gold Coast the week later, it's not even Savachi, even Craig. It's not just a given.
Savachi's the kicker for me. He's our defending SX1 champion. He's going to be here in a couple of days. The team is based here. What is going on in the background, these riders not being a part of this event? That's the question.
All right, so to me, you're the ones that SX Global are directly funding, which are the obvious ones: Tomac, Roxon, Deegan.
Yep.
100%, it makes sense. If they're exclusively here for them and they're getting paid as such, understood. Webb as well. As you say, Savachi, your Christian Craigs, the certain riders who I don't even know for sure that they're not allowed to do AUSX. I know there's been talk that is the case. Maybe Yariv Konski can't make sense to just add on another couple of bikes. Maybe the bikes aren't even here. Maybe, who knows?
I'm sorry. You can't. Yariv cannot have the chance of seeing his number one CRF 450 going
Who's funding it, sir?
The bikes are here. There is a factory full of bikes.
We've actually
great to give them a bike.
We actually have a comment from him. We chased it up this week.
Konski.
Yeah, but I feel like he kind of misunderstood the question that was asked. So he speaks about it in terms of the wider championship, more so than why isn't Christian or Joey at AUSX Open. Because he speaks about unable to commit to the series because of rounds that clash. He kind of speaks about the big one. He also says, though, we know that we're well covered with Dean and Subs. So at the same time, McElrath is racing. So is there a regulation that says Christian Craig or Joey Savachi can't race Melbourne? Again, we've heard the whispers, but if that was the case, then why can multiple-time world champion Shane McElrath come and race SX2?
It's almost like
Um,
there is exclusive and non-exclusive contracts. And that's
and
what I'm getting at with this, is the question of how we got to this point. Because
hmm,
I'm not going in defense of AME, but I know they tried everything they could do to get these riders here, and it hasn't happened.
all right, what I don't like, you want to rant, sir. You want to rant from me. Okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. To me, I'm not for or against World Supercross. I appreciate that it exists. I appreciate the racing that we have been able to watch. What I don't like is if they are purposely, and I'm not saying they are because I don't have proof either way, but if they are gearing up the Gold Coast event to effectively crush, whether it's the AUSX Open, whether it is Adelaide Grand Final for AUSX Supercross, that's unacceptable.
Get off the fence. Alex, get off the fence.
No, because I'm speaking in...
That's exactly what this is. This is all this has been, is a hit on it. And this is from the very get-go when we've seen that the two clashed. There is no physical way in hell that should be allowed. And that's motorcycling.
Yeah, we've spoken about that before.
But that's what I mean. It's ridiculous.
So to me, that is where you draw the line of it being unacceptable. Whether or not that affects the international riders being in Melbourne, that's one thing. Whether it affects directly 1 week later, and I'm sure we'll speak about it more coming into Adelaide, if they are directly putting a hit on it, quote unquote, then that's when it's unacceptable. So
there is something so ironic, and I mean this in the most politest way possible. But Adam Bailey designed this. Adam Bailey created what World Supercross is, and it's coming after to kill him. The machine he created is
intense. Sounds like AI.
The reality of it. He knows that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just some questions behind it. And I've seen it online, like people like, why haven't we got Eli? Why haven't we got Diggs? Like, I think before we point the finger at promoters and do all this, like there's so much more that goes in the background. And that's what the frustrating thing is, because that's the industry, right? Like that's where we're at.
Yeah. The only other thing I guess that comes into it is you kind of speak about clashes, and you think last weekend while Paris was on, which we spoke about, obviously goes head to head with Vancouver and round 2 of the World Championship. So that on the surface, we all accept it. We all move forward. Both events were decent in their own right.
All
not the greatest events ever.
Vancouver had a great night.
Yeah, but the reality is your riders like Ken Roxon, who one of the greats in Paris over the years. It just makes for a difficult time. Even down to, your Bud Racing is trying to do both events in different parts of the world. Anthony Bourdon started the World Supercross in Argentina with Quadlock Honda. Wilson Todd had to go fill in because obviously he races, in France with Honda, and he had to be there in terms of that event. So,
same as Jake
definitely
Cannon
complex.
Well. Yeah, same as Jake Cannon, right? Racing SX2 here, doing that. So that's cool. I like that.
So, and the other thing is, it is very, when you speak about operating outside of that window from SMX to January, it is getting tighter and tighter, and there's more and more events that really want to sit on the mantle as the most important. So, tough one. I'm not sure where it goes to from here. Do we need more internationals? definitely, if the Lawrence brothers aren't there in 2026 or 27, whatever. But yeah, time will tell what happens there. But yeah.
Speaking of that international flavour, in the championship domestically, Alex, Dean Wilson is dominating SX1. That's the reality of it. And I guess that goes back to when you were speaking about Uribe and having the championship unlock, or in a position they like. Dean Wilson is dominating SX1, and he's making it look pretty easy.
Yeah, basically unbeaten so far. So in terms of the championship, he's pulled out already a 30-point lead. So the way that the points are handed out for this championship, it's not going to be simple or very unlikely for him to clinch in advance of Adelaide. But yeah, what we're sort of seeing there with Dean Wilson, if there's ever been a year where he's reminded me of Justin Brayton and what he achieved and what he brought to Australia, this is the one. Dean Wilson, I think he's even better than when he first arrived here.
Why do you say that?
A few years ago.
Why do you say
Just
that?
more polished, more belief. Only just came up short last year of Joey Savacci in terms of the championship. So that was obviously difficult for him. And I think just enjoying this portion of his career, like Brayton before him. And as I said earlier, if you speak about championships that are important for Dean Wilson and when the time comes for him to perform, this is it. And I think he's really embracing that. He's staying in Australia. He loves Australia. Very much Brayton-esque in the way he's going about this thing.
Yeah, and I often think how this championship would look without Dean Wilson. And I think results-wise, how do you think that is? How do you think it looks if we didn't have the likes of Dean?
I think clout is almost better. I think a bit of a danger that I see with a Luke Clout, they're almost that fixated on, beating a Dean Wilson, beating a Joey Savacci, putting the Aussies on top. Matt Moss may be similar as well in recent years. Whether it's Brayton, whether it's Wilson, whether it's Savacci, I think there's always been that element. Obviously, Clout had that really difficult run there in Redcliffe. But yeah, I think if Wilson wasn't here, I think Clout takes control that little bit easier. Yep. His belief elevates. Obviously, this year.
I think the same as Tanti as well. Like, Tanti's results haven't replicated how good his riding is. There's been a lot of mistakes and things like that, which have hurt for him. But I often think of how does that domestically look with our riders?
Maybe not. Tanti obviously spent so much time off. I think that kind of just that match fitness, or whether it's just getting back into the rhythm, I think that's still catching up for him. Because as you know, it's only been 3 rounds, 2 weekends, so not a lot of time really to get this thing going properly, even though we are beginning to look towards the end.
Matt Moss?
Cedric Subaros, I think he's been a really almost underrated addition for this year. I think that's been a real bonus in a sense. Even his performance in Paris, just he is one of the very form riders. The other thing is, and I think this is something that we probably don't speak about enough, it's not easy to come from France, to come from overseas, arrive in Australia and race our own on our tracks in our series within our teams. That's not easy either.
No, not at all. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. And I think when you do that for the first time, and that's something where Dean's been a little bit more polished, he knows what to expect. He knows the tracks to expect, how it forms up, and the racing as well. I think, Subs has really been a quiet achiever. I think it sort of goes under the radar of how good he has been.
Mm.
Um,
Melross a little bit as well. There's obviously been that privateer element, still overshadowed, I think, to an extent. Obviously, his Redcliffe podium was a real moment, a real memory in the series, but still, he is top 3 in the points. First of the Aussies at this point. Clout is closing on him pretty rapidly. So that will kind of probably change here in a little bit. The ones that I want to see more of moving forward, I think, would be Harrison and Nicoletti. I'd like to see them, maybe. The results, of course, Craig Dack would have wanted more, but the promise, you can see the potential there. So I want to see them at least once, twice between now to the end of the season, to see those guys probably bring it together for the sake of the effort that's gone in from everybody. And then maybe Walsh as well. I don't quite put him at the same level, but you just want to see these imports, we'll say, just kind of bring it together, because I think as I said, the potential's there. The results aren't quite there yet. And that's sort of, I think it's important for them to bring something together.
I think you see that from Harrison. I think you do get that. Nicoletti, on the other hand, I think what you see is what you get, and that's probably where it's going to be. And Walsh, one thing I can tell you is Walsh is going to get a good start. So that, when does
Nicoletti had that hand as well, so
that's what I mean.
There wasn't a lot on it. Yeah, the hand injury.
Where it is. That's where you get with Nicoletti. But Harrison, I think the potential's there for it to go that direction. And then Walsh as well. We just need one of those starts to really develop into that. So, like I said, there's someone that always seems to catch fire, so to speak, at Marvel, and it's a memorable weekend for them. So, why couldn't it be one of them?
You kind of look back at last year and you think of the podium in terms of SX1 there in Marvel. It was obviously Hunter Lawrence in the end. Jed Beaton, who we're without this year, he was on the box, and then Wilson as well was there. And Savacci obviously had his dramas. So, we will see how this thing shakes out.
Matt Moss, he's back this weekend. Bought Empire Kawasaki. That's been a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Was he injured? Was he not injured? Well, I don't know. At this point, I don't really care. But he's back this weekend. Does that throw something into the mix?
Yeah, I mean, it's an extra person. If you speak about starters, Matt Moss has that. Is he comfortable on that bike? Is he fit? We saw him end up sitting out in Canada, so obviously not 100% fit. He's flown back home since then. He's been riding this week on Wednesday. So, what does it look like for Matt Moss? I'm not sure. And it's hard to predict.
Yeah, it is hard to predict. Do you want a little Easter egg about that Penrite Racing Empire Kawasaki team?
Easter egg.
Do you want an Easter egg?
Yeah. All right.
You want
Christmas present?
A little Christmas present, so to speak? I think you see, once again,
hang on. Is this a Nick Nose?
This might be a Nick Nose.
All right.
This might be a Nick Nose. I think you see another return to racing for Dean Ferris, and I believe you see it on a Penrite Racing Empire Kawasaki for next year. I believe you see him return to racing with that team alongside Brad West. There's a little Nick Nose for you. So,
all right.
If anyone else counted Dean Ferris out, hold your cards. He's coming back.
Well, we did that, the interview with Clout this week when he got back from Paris. Obviously was on the 250 there with Bud Racing. In Germany the week before, he was on the 450 with the domestic team there. podium in both. Didn't quite win the Prince of Paris, but in that interview, what I'm getting at is Clout spoke about that he is effectively a free agent. So if I assume we're taking Luke Clout out of the mix for that team for next year. So yeah, I mean, for me, the Ferris connection, I have heard that. It's a bit of a strange one. I don't necessarily have an opinion until I learn more. But West as well, I guess that's kind of out of left field. But yeah, we'll see. And then there's obviously the element there of, and I think you've spoken to this before, is they will become the 450 team and there'll be a separate 250 program. So is it the right move? If that happens, definitely a strange move. But yeah.
It gets a little weirder, but yeah, a 450 team for Penrite Racing, and then I believe you'll see a 250 base team on the run out of the Gold Coast. So people can read into that,
Cryptic.
read out of that, whatever you like. Cryptic, is that what you said?
Yeah, cryptic.
Get
off the fence, Nick. Get off the fence.
Motorsport. Jed Parsons Motorsport Kawasaki for 2026. That's the rumor on the field. Yeah. Probably going to avoid the pits on the weekend. Probably going to avoid the pits. I don't know. People get upset with this stuff. People get
upset. If you want
a
secret, don't tell anybody.
That's correct. That
is
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little in there. But SX1, you got anything else SX1 leading into the weekend?
Different format this year than what years past. So it seems to me like the AUSX Championship is maintaining this 2-moto format, from what I understand, 2-race format. So typically, obviously what Melbourne was more of a Triple Crown type round with the 3 races. So that changes things up a bit. Yeah, not much else. I'm expecting Clout to do well. Hearing as well, don't know a lot. It's almost difficult to get more info at this rate. It's kind of been this way since the outdoors, but the thought was that Nathan Crawford would be back alongside Walsh at KTM Racing Team. I don't think that's actually going to eventuate. So we'll try and learn more there. Yeah, but at any time you put Jet Lawrence in particular on a track in front of me, Nick, I'm satisfied.
Hey, we got the best in the world. Things are okay. Things are okay.
Hunter too. Yeah. But just seeing the way that Jet rides the bike in person, whether it's Marvel, whether it's Angel Stadium, whatever it is, no weird flexes.
It's special.
Good.
Yeah, no, it is special. And that's, with Nathan Crawford, that's an odd one. It's been very quiet out of that camp, sort of, especially since the Noah Ferguson news, and we'll sort of get to that now. And they ask the question is, how will that look? How will that mid-season break, how is that going to affect the SX2 class? Like I said just then, Alex, the announcement that Noah Ferguson has departed ways with that KTM outfit there. We won't see him on the weekend. So a little bit of a break in SX2 and craziness happens once again.
Yeah, it does. It's I don't know a lot about the Ferguson thing in general. Almost one of those ones, again, it's kind of surprising it to the point of we kind of had high expectations for him in Supercross. He finished the outdoors pretty strongly. This year, obviously, being with the KTM Racing Team. Had that injury, I believe, from Redcliffe that put him out of Cronulla. Won't see him back at all from this point or for next year with KTM. There was the kind of ties to his chasing an international career. I can't see that happening. I don't know how, why, or what. I don't know if you know anymore, but
that doesn't make
sense.
that whole thing was so left field, right? Because I'd only heard he'd signed a contract for 2026 weeks prior. So that is very, very odd. Watch that space with this one, I think. But for this class this weekend, it is
all eyes on Lux Turner.
That it is, right? It's all eyes on Lux Turner. And can Ryder Kingsford snap one away from him? Can he find himself on the top step of the box? And then you've got the whole crew behind as well. Cole Thompson, what craziness is he going to create? So many little different stories, but all eyes on Lux Turner this weekend.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It's almost a bit of a fairy tale so far this season for Monster Energy, Yamalube, Yamaha. When you think of, we spoke about the CDR guys really probably, I wouldn't say failing to fire, but not really getting it to probably where expectations were. Lux Turner, on the other hand, has over-delivered, I think. To see him sort of come into his own over the course of Redcliffe into Cronulla, and then seeing Ryder Kingsford also rise to the occasion, that's kind of been interesting in itself. I think what we're going to take from this weekend is Cronulla proved for Lux that Redcliffe was no fluke. This time around, he's been back in California. He's been announced in the meantime as part of the BarX team for next year. He's been on different equipment, although similar in ways. He's been back on the American tracks. He's just arrived mid this week. So, yeah, this is the moment where I think if Lux is going to feel any pressure, this is going to be the highest point that he's felt it all year, I think.
I think the 21 gets it done this weekend. I think Ryder Kingsford has just been riding better and better. That last round at Cronulla, there was some unlucky, that stung a little bit to him. So I think you see him really rebound this weekend.
And it comes down to, where does Turner even consider managing this thing into Adelaide? We'll get into that a little bit further. But yeah, it's 137 right now to Kingsford is on 111. If Kingsford wins, he's really going to need Lux to kind of have a bit of misfortune. So yeah, it's difficult. I don't know if I would say we're already there in terms of managing. I think the pressure does go up. McElrath, we spoke about him. He's going to be back. He wants to, and he needs to turn this thing around. For one, on the 250, it's not gone well. It didn't go well in Redcliffe. It's not gone great in Argentina, and definitely not in Canada. So, again, this is a very important part of his year, and it's just not worked. So he's going to want to flip the script that little bit. Can he do it? Does he do it? I think for me, and I don't really know how this would fit, I'm almost at the point where Shane McElrath is a 450 guy.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there.
Going back to the 250 at this point is a mistake.
Yeah, and if it didn't have a number one on it, he wouldn't be on the class. He'd be in the 450 class. I don't know what's happened or gone along with that, but it hasn't been good for Shane. Like you said, each time we've seen him on track on that 250, it hasn't gone well. He needs to rebound this weekend. That's the importance of it. And that's
track
one of the
positions just been killing him.
Yep, the starts and coming through. And the worst thing, obviously, is the smaller sprint laps, sprint races. If you get that bad start, if you get stuck, if you get caught up, bunched, you're out of time. You can't come through. So that really hasn't been a friend to Shane this season so far. But he's one of the ones I'm going to be looking at for. And Cole Thompson is another one. Cole Thompson, he's brought here for one mission, is to create chaos, and that's what it is. He wants to find himself on the top step of that podium. Find fireworks. We could see the Marvel fireworks, and maybe
Well, last year, yeah, sorry.
the pressure is there because okay, they all want to win this one. This is the Australian version of A1. You want to win. You want to win at Marvel Stadium. Maybe there's something.
Yeah, I mean, the last year it was McElrath winning at Marvel on his way to the championship. Thompson was on the podium. But yeah, it really was a perfect night last year for Shane. Cater Manier was on the podium, 12 months ago. So, yeah, where does it go from this point? Who does make an impact? There's obviously a mixture of riders who have that possibility and the potential. Larwood as well. He's not completely out of this thing. We know, just know how, I guess, competitive he can be. Tiger Wood, I'm looking forward to seeing him more, seeing what he can do, and likewise Jake Cannon. So I think there's a real, there's almost more storylines to look forward to within the 250 class.
There is, and there's so many different complexes in the way it is of people that need to turn this thing around. Like Wilson Todd, he's had a rough run at this so far. He needs a good round. Jake Cannon's really caught fire, and since coming over here is showing how good he can be. And then you've got that dynamic in Honda Racing Australia of no, I'm going to be the top 250 guy. That's what I'm going to do, and that's with Shane, that's with Tiger Wood, that's with Larwood. There are so many different variables in that, and it's making it count at Marvel Stadium, Alex. That's what it is, making this thing count 1 week till the final round. Those are the riders. That's the importance of it.
Yeah, it is. And that's a good point is, on one hand, you have the very biggest event in this country in terms of motocross or supercross. You want to win on the biggest stage of all. You want to be on the podium on the biggest stage of all. You also have that reality that for some, the championship continues, 6 days later?
Friday,
so, yeah. So once you get down to Adelaide and Marvel becomes a distant memory pretty quickly. So that's always a difficult one, I think, for Wilson, for Lux Turner, or for Kingsford even. This is the round where I think it will really define their championships. How does it shake out overall? I think there's so many different kind of mentalities leading into this one. So that's the big one.
And the same thing for SX3. The Malinowski Kingsford fight, that was the talking point leaving Cronulla. And the same thing for them. Which one of those riders are going to make it count at Marvel Stadium? Leading into the final round, this is an important one for that class. And it's they're two personalities that come together and clash, and I like it. I want to see more of it.
Yeah, I think there's that. Obviously, Jet Alsop, he raced through injury. What was it, a collarbone there in Cronulla? He still is second in the points. So the narrative's based upon Kingsford and Malinowski, obviously, after what happened there in Cronulla. But then you do have Alsop there in between. I think the fireworks are going to be, in a sense, Cade Kingsford wants to put himself on the radar as firmly as possible in terms of, if you speak SMX next, Malinowski's one of the guys. If you speak rising talents in America, it's kind of rare that Kingsford gets his shot at somebody like that here on home soil and kind of has that opportunity. And I'm sure that we'll see him in America again next year as well. But it's a real matchup that's almost, if you weren't interested in SX3 or the development categories before, they definitely made you pay attention after what happened in Sydney.
Absolutely. It's a storyline, right? It's personality. It's it's when we see those two riders on track together, it's what we look for. And that's the storylines in the sport that that's what I like. That's what we go to the track for. And I just want to go to the track, man. So
yeah.
Yep.
And then obviously the Blake Bohannon, fantastic. Speak about stars of the future. You kind of think back, and I always think about this is when you consider AUSX Open in 19 when Jet Lawrence was just kind of emerging on the scene in America. We obviously knew well and truly who he was by that point, but that was kind of, straight after Monster Energy Cup. Then he came here and he made his, pro debut as such in the 250 class. And you think of that in 19 versus the Jet Lawrence that it is today. While the capabilities were clear, you could never have really predicted the type of rise that he's enjoyed over the past 5-6 years. So, that's always the interesting part too.
So many storylines to look forward to, Alex. It's let's go. Let's get to Marvel Stadium.
You sound excited. You sound so excited that I feel like you've fallen asleep.
I'm ready. I'm sick of talking about it. It's exciting. The home.
Yeah, no.
The home of Supercross. We're going home.
So what you're thinking about 30,000 give or take? Is that?
I think if we're at 30,000, I think that's a win. You'd agree, right?
Yeah. What was it last year? Just over 40?
Just over 40. I think 42 is what we hit. But like even the event as itself, the Friday, they have a pit party. Last year it was absolute chaos for people that came out on a Friday afternoon to see Jet and Hunter. Absolute chaos. So I want to see more of that. That's what we really need to rally around. A lot of that hype, so to speak.
Yeah, it gives you that opportunity to kind of see them, see not just the Lawrence brothers, but the riders in general kind of, before the action really begins in kind of
Buttery.
that real...
You get yourself some buttery.
Yeah, yep. So, yeah, I think in general, I'm just looking up the times while we speak, Nick. For the Friday, what was it?
I believe it's 11:30.
That soon?
I believe it's pretty early in the morning, yeah. Because last year it was absolute chaos and, yeah.
Here we go. Friday Fan Fest. Fan Fest begins at midday. Lawrence signing session about an hour after that, along with obviously all the other rider signings, some talent Q&As at 2 p.m., all the way through, Nick, until 4 p.m. So, yeah, there'll plenty going on there.
There'll be people lined up at 8 a.m.
Yeah?
Will you be lined up?
No, sir. But but yeah, and I think beyond that, there's some activations and as you say, it's almost the I think if there's any down point of AUSX Open, it's probably the lack of pit infrastructure.
Yeah.
So there's obviously
being able to making up for it up there on the concourse, and Monster are there, My Pay Now. They always got Slothies running around. Go get your photo with Slothy. That's what we'd love to see. Wills, you'll be cutting laps in a JQ, no doubt. There's so much to look out for.
Yeah. So I think that is definitely the key to it. I think not the traditional transporters, pit setups that you'll obviously would have seen in Redcliffe, Cronulla, and then you'll see again down there in Adelaide. But at the same time, this Fan Fest, I think that's sort of their way to kind of alleviate that. And just a real festival type atmosphere. I think that's the key.
An event feel is why I'm going to call that. Feel like you're a part of an event. Lots to look forward to.
Do you think Jet wins? Do you think Jet wins?
Yeah, Jet gets it done. Actually, no. Hunter. Put him
No?
in the cheaps. Hunter,
Hunter
put him in
again?
the cheap seats. Hunter needs it. Hunter will get it done. But I'm looking forward to it, Alex. I'm going to go wrestle a credential away from Adam Bailey. So if anyone sees a scuffle in the car park, it's just me and Bailey having a scuffle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to that. Thank you. It's been fun, mate.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. MotoOnline.com.au for the latest and across the socials. MotoOnline AUS all weekend. Stay tuned. It's going to be fun. That's Alex Gobert. I'm Nick Still. This has been the MXtoday podcast, and we will see you on the next one.